Capital to Brad Blazar. He's my personal coach. He's raised over $2 billion. He's a published author. He's one of the top guys when it comes to raising capital. So I want to bring on Brad Blazar. Welcome, Brad. Thank you for joining the High Performance Summit.
Great. Well, thank you for having me today, Jason. It's great to be here with everybody. Looking forward to sharing a lot of knowledge, more importantly, adding a lot of value to this afternoon's High Performance Success Summit. As Jason said, my name is Brad Blazar, and I'm here today really to teach you a couple of things on how to attract, how to raise, how to close high net worth investor capital so that you can build, buy, or scale a business, or maybe fund a special project like real estate. And this is a skill that I learned many years ago, and it stayed with me throughout my entire life. It's afforded me the ability today, fast forward, to raise over $2 billion in investor capital, primarily through brokerage firms, family offices, investment advisory firms. But when it comes to raising money, I've done it all. I mean, I've raised money from foreign countries, sovereign wealth funds, insurance, pensions. For those of you that are interested in this, go to Amazon, get my book, Winning at the Capital Game. This was just released. It's my third book. And it covers everything you need to know from A to Z, literally on how to attract, how to raise, and how to close investor capital. So what I want to do today is I want to share my screen with everybody and really get into how to do this because it's not nearly as difficult as a lot of people think it is. Raising money from investors is simply one of those things that can be learned. Think of it like riding a bicycle. Think of it like playing the piano. Right now, if you're here and you're watching this and you're saying to yourself, man, I'd love to learn how to do this, like just learning how to raise a couple $100,000 or learning how to raise $1 million from investors would change my life, but I just don't know how to do it. What you're letting happen is you're letting fear come in the way of your success, okay? It's the self-doubt, it's the limiting beliefs that are holding you back from doing big things in life. And fear stands for false evidence appearing real. Let me say that again. Fear, or the fear of doing something, is false evidence that appears real. And you have a choice, one of two things, okay? You can face everything and run in the other direction and never get anything accomplished, never do anything big in your life, or you can face everything and rise. Okay? Personally, in my life, I use fear as a major motivating factor. As an example, earlier this year, I made the decision to host an event. And I knew I needed to get a fairly well-known keynote speaker to show up and speak just to put butts in seats. And so I reached out to Shark Tank's Kevin Harrington, and he agreed. And he said, I'll do it, but I'm going to do it virtually. I can't be there in person because I'm concerned about COVID, but I'll do it virtually. You can Zoom me in, and I'll be more than happy to speak. And it'll cost you $17,500. I said, great, let's do it. That was before I had sold a single ticket. But you see, that's the kind of risk that I'm willing to take because I'm confident in myself. And I figured out after I made the commitment to do it, how to get it done, how to pay for it, and how to ink out a small profit. In addition to ticket sales to fill the room, I made the decision to bring in corporate sponsors. That's right. I got a huge event. We're going to have 100 people there. How would you like to have a table, be able to get up on the stage and talk about what your firm does? You're a self-directed IRA custodian. That's going to be a big interest. You can have a table for $6,000. And I got a number of companies to sign up. You see, I use fear as a motivator. Just a few weeks ago, I made the decision to fly on a private jet from Houston to Nashville to attend an event. Private jet, $20,000. I made the decision. I had no idea how I was going to pay for it. And then it came to me, I'll sell seats to other people to join me on the jet. I flew for free. See, that's how big people think. And so today, as I go through this, I want you to realize, if you're here, that yes, you can raise money. And more importantly, I can teach you how to do it because we've raised hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So let's dispel, number one, some beliefs and misconceptions that you might have about raising money from high net worth investors. Number one, your age doesn't matter. And a lot of people that are in their 20s think that age matters when it comes to raising massive amounts of money. It does not. After all, how could I, as a 23-year-old college dropout, literally raise millions of dollars and start an oil company and today be teaching other people how to do the same? You see, so age doesn't matter. I started and launched an oil company at the age of 23. I had never drilled an oil well. I had never ran a business. I was confident and I got on the phone and I knew how to raise money. So age doesn't matter. Number two, you don't need to know a whole bunch of rich people to raise money. And personally, I have never raised money from family and friends. I know some people do. That's great. I made the decision never to do it. Here's why. Many times you cannot control the outcome of an investment. Real estate is a cyclical industry, right? We all know that sometimes things work out the way we intend them to, sometimes they don't. And I always want to be the person that's capable of walking into the holiday dinner holding my head high rather than running for the corner trying to evade a conversation. Because if you take money from a friend or family member and the investment doesn't work out as you thought it would, it really becomes a very, very tough thing in that relationship and it causes tremendous tension. The next thing, anybody, and I mean anybody, can do this once they learn a few basic skills and really understand what's needed for success. And I want to prove to you that anybody can do this. I want to share a story with you. When I was in the oil and gas business, we had a fairly decent sized company, and I was looking to hire a couple of additional salespeople to my team. This was back in the early 1980s, before the advent of the internet technology we have today. So we were running ads in the local newspaper, the Austin American-Statesman, getting resumes, sent in to us. One day, my receptionist got on the phone and she said, "Brad, Jack's here for his interview." I said, "Great, I'll be right there." As I walked around the corner from the hallway into my reception area, there on the couch was a gentleman, probably in his early mid-30s, ready for an interview. And he was literally wearing a pair of jeans that had holes in the knees. He had on work boots that were covered with dust and mud. He had on a flannel shirt. He had a big mullet for a haircut. For those of you that have ever seen the movie Joe Dirt, right, with David Spade, he literally was Joe Dirt's first cousin. And he had a big old Fu Manchu mustache. Now, this guy was a train wreck by anybody's definition, especially showing up for an interview in a corporate setting in a major office building. Most CEOs, most managers would have discounted him and sent him on his way, just saying, "Jack, I'm sorry, you're not dressed appropriately for the interview. Either reschedule or come back some other time." But that's not me. I brought him into my conference room. I sat him down. I got to ask the right questions. And after a while, I just said one thing: "Jack, why do you want to work here?" And the answer he gave me is what gave him the opportunity of a lifetime. He said, "Brad, as you can see, I'm a very humble person. I apologize for showing up dressed this way, but my wife and my daughter have much bigger dreams and aspirations than I do, and I just want to be able to give them everything in life they deserve." And I sat there like, wow, I'd never heard that answer before. And largely understanding that to be massively successful in life, you have to have purpose. I said to myself, that's his purpose. And I said, "Jack, if you can be back here next week on Monday, I'll put you to work and I'll give you the shot of a lifetime." He jumped up, he hugged me. And here's the funny thing. After being in my office and seeing the setting he'd be working in, he showed up dressed exactly the same way. And I'm sitting there looking at this poor guy saying, "Man, Blazar, you really screwed up this time. Like, how in the world is this guy, Jack, going to get on the phone, talk to big time people, and raise hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars a year? Like, how?" The guy didn't even have a suit and tie. You see, I was prejudging him. And then I just looked at him and I said, Jack, let's go somewhere. We got in my Porsche. I took him to a department store. And that day I invested in him, bought him 2 suits, took him to my barber, gave him a Hollywood makeover. And then the next day he came back, man, he had some swag. He was feeling good. I gave him the script. I role played. I trained him up. And I kid you not, in 12 months, he raised $25 million and earned $250,000 in commission. So if I can teach Jack how to raise $25 million, old train wreck Jack, I guarantee if you commit, you put forth the effort and you take action, we can teach you too. Next is you don't need a track record. You don't have to have any experience at all raising money. You don't have to have any experience at all, investing in multifamily in order to be successful. And lastly, you don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars and invest countless wasted hours to have success when it comes to raising money. So you're probably asking yourself, if you've never heard of me before, like, who is this dude? Like, who is Brad Blazar? So I want to share a couple things about me and my track record. Number one, I was the former CEO and founder of an oil company. I started at 23 years of age. We literally raised millions of dollars from high net worth individuals, family offices, broker dealers. Today, I run what's called Capital School, where we have students literally around the globe in other countries, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, here in the United States, the United Kingdom. Why? Because the language of speaking to investors and how you go about attracting capital is universally the same anywhere you go today. Number two, I'm the host of a highly rated podcast called Beast Nation. It's rated by Yahoo Finance, Yahoo News as the second highest rated show to help you cope with COVID-19. If you're a podcast fan, you like listening to podcasts like Bradley's Dropping Bombs or Joel Brown's Addicted to Success, find us on YouTube, go to my website, become a subscriber. It's a highly rated show, and I guarantee it'll fill your mind with positive thoughts. I'm a 3-time author. My first book, On the Wings of Eagles, quickly became a top-ranked book for young entrepreneurs. #1 read, rated over on a major literary blog. Put some thrive in your hive, unlocking potential in any organization. If you're a manager, a CEO, an entrepreneur, you want to create a culture of success in your business, this is a must read. And then the last book, of course, Winning at the Capital Game, Using Other People's Money, unlocks the secrets of how to attract, how to raise, and how to close investor capital. So let's talk about raising money. That's what I'm here to teach you today. I want to go back a couple of years and talk about my journey as a real estate entrepreneur, as a real estate investor, working with other people. This was my very first deal. When I made the decision to get into real estate investing, I decided to focus on a niche. It's called acquiring real estate subject to. You find people that are in pre-foreclosure, you approach them, you convince them to let you take over their monthly payments, bring their mortgage current on terms that you negotiate with the lender. This was my first deal. Small little cracker box of a house, probably 1,300 square feet. The lady had lost her husband. She was behind in her payments. It was ugly, 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 ugly. Instead of the nice gray, it was bright yellow. I mean, it was a train wreck of a home, but I saw an opportunity. So I went in, I negotiated, I took over the payments, went in and rehabbed it. As you can see, repainted it, made it look pretty nice, and then I rented it out. And here was the best part about it. By taking over her monthly payments, I didn't have to qualify for a mortgage. I didn't have to go through that whole process. I didn't have to show any of my financial information. I just basically had her sign over a general warranty deed, and boom, I was off to the races. Here was my next house, much nicer home. This one was about 2,800 square feet, and it sat at the end of a cul-de-sac. There were no neighbors. And so I went in again, negotiated with the owner. He was behind in his mortgage. His wife had lost his job. He was unemployed. He was a truck driver. They moved out, took over, cleaned it up, leased it out, took over the monthly payments. This was another deal I acquired. And so what you're starting to see here is a pattern of success, right? When you find something that you're successful at, the big secret to having massive success is just to push the repeat button and do it again and do it again and then do it again. And I got to a point where I ultimately ended up owning a little over a dozen rental properties. Okay. Most of them were acquired the same way without ever having to qualify for a mortgage, just taking over other people's monthly payments that were in pre-foreclosure. And I was able to rent them out and create positive cash flow in addition to building my own personal wealth. If you add up the value of all of the real estate I had in my portfolio, the total property value would probably be around $3.5 million. You know, this house was worth 180. This other house over here was worth 225. This one might have been worth 130. And so the aggregate, when you added up all of those properties, was well over $3.5 million. Now, here's what I'll tell you. There's mortgages on these properties, many of them. And I was in debt, multi-millions of dollars, because each property had a mortgage and I had to pay that mortgage. But as Robert Kiyosaki and as many of my mentors and my coaches have told me, there's good debt and there's bad debt. Let me say that again. It's a very, very important thing. It needs to sink in. There's good debt and there's bad debt. Owning real estate that's going up in value where other people are paying your mortgage, that's good debt. Now, today, I own interest in self-storage. Okay, I own interest in single family, student housing, and I consult with people all over the world wanting to raise capital and learn how to do it. Okay, I've raised hundreds of millions of dollars for other people, large real estate syndication firms, private equity firms, some of the world's largest financial services companies like US Allianz, ING, Transamerica. And I'm of the belief that anyone can transform their future by understanding a few key principles about using other people's money to build their wealth. Now, you're probably sitting there after listening to all this saying, Brad, man, this sounds good. I want to do it too, but I don't have any money. And here's what I'll tell you. This is what Grant Cardone will tell you. And this is what my good friend Brad Lee will tell you. Don't ever let the fact that you don't personally have money stop you from achieving your goals and your dreams. Because you know where money grows? Money grows in the pockets of other people. Okay? Once you learn a few skills and once you become a little bit more confident in building conversations with affluent people, with accredited investors, you'll find that raising money is actually a lot easier than you think it is. Now, all the money you need, literally, in life to do anything you want, to build, to buy or scale a business, to invest in multifamily, to invest in real estate, it's available once you learn how to ask for it. And as Sir Francis Bacon said, knowledge is power. The best investment that any of you could ever make is not Bitcoin. It's not the stock market. It's not even real estate, as good as this is. The best investment any of you could ever make is in yourself. Okay, I've invested literally lots of money in coaches, in going to events, because knowledge is power. You see, you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of you here getting the knowledge, learning today from myself, from Jason, from the other speakers that are going to be in front of you during the High Performance Success Summit. So invest in your future, invest and get the knowledge you need. So you're probably asking, well, how do I get the money that I need to build, buy, or scale a business or fund that special project? The answer, high net worth investors. And so raising money is actually easy once you know the process. It's a skill. And what I want to do today is I want to share with you a couple of secrets. I want to walk you through a couple of the processes that I personally use to raise tens of millions of dollars. My goal is that by the end of the call today, you'll have some key ingredients. You'll have a seed of knowledge. You'll have the desire to do this so that you can then go forward and either work with me, work with others, and begin the process of transforming your life as you learn how to raise capital and leverage OPM. That stands for others people's money. So here are 3 secrets to successfully raising investor capital. Okay, we've dispelled some of these, but number one, again, your age, track record, prior performance don't matter. I swear to God, folks, they don't. Anyone can have success raising capital from investors. All you need is to have a nice little investor package. We're going to talk about that. We show you how to put that together in my mentorship and my training. Okay, all you need to have is a little bit of confidence and show the prospective investor that you can execute on a strategy or you can execute on an investment thesis. That's all you need, because investors don't invest in great ideas. They invest in other people that can execute on those ideas. Number two, you can cultivate a high quality list of high net worth accredited investors that you can actually go out and solicit and begin working for capital. One way that you can do this, as an example, is social media, okay, podcast, or creating a group like a Facebook community, or advertising on Facebook and LinkedIn. Hey, join me on October the 6th because I'm hosting a wonderful event. It's a webinar where I'm bringing in an accountant. We're going to be talking about the tax benefits and how real estate can lower your taxable in your taxes. Now, I guarantee you do something like that, you're going to have people that sign up. You're going to have people that join you on that webinar. And then after that webinar is done, you get on the phone, you call them, you send emails, and you start building that relationship and that trust and convert those attendees to potential capital partners. And the best part about this is the part I love, you can see success in as little as 4 to 5, 6 weeks rather than months that it sometimes takes other people, and actually begin closing investor capital fairly quickly. So let's get started. The first thing you need to understand about raising money is very few people, other than maybe your immediate family, some very close friends, will invest with you without trust. You need trust. So the question becomes, well, how do I build trust? Like, how do I get someone else to trust me? And there's a wonderful book that's written by a gentleman named Philippe DeConer. You can find it on Amazon. It's called The Trust Economy. And in this book, Philippe talks about basically 6 things, okay, that have to happen sequentially, one after another, in order to build that trust in another person. Now, notice on this chart that the first 3 things are proactive. That means you're taking the effort, the action, okay? These things are you. Then the last 3 are the prospective investor. That's reactive. They're reacting to you, they're absorbing, they're taking in information. So I want to walk through each one of these 6 things today. When you're learning how to raise money, the very first thing is perception. Introduction, same thing, perception, introduction. Now, it's usually a meeting, could be a Zoom, could be a phone call, but perception is so very important, because essentially what that prospective investor is doing is they're sizing you up. Now, the ladies get this a lot better than the men do, because for ladies that go out on dates, the very first thing they're deciding is there ever going to be a second date? They're judging you, right? How you treat them. Do you open the door? Are you dressed well? Are you groomed properly? But perception is so important. What this means is they're checking you out. How do you dress? Are you well groomed? What's the quality of your business card? Is it a little flimsy card, or is it, something substantial on a thicker cardstock that's embossed? They're looking at your presentation. They're checking out your website if you have a web presence. They're checking out everything about you, your LinkedIn profile. Perception is so important. So make sure you step back and you look at the way you present yourself, your business, the opportunity to the world, because that largely is going to speak volumes on whether you're going to get to these next steps. Okay? So after you focus on your perception, you spend a little bit of money in a high quality business card, you dress nicely, you make a nice presentation. The next thing is temptation. This is a very important step in the process, because what you're trying to do in the temptation phase is uncover what will lead this person to ultimately invest. Like, what is the temptation. What are they investing for? And the way you do this is you ask questions. Okay. In our training and mentorship, we have a long list of about 25 questions that you can print off and have right there by you if you're on a phone or a Zoom, so you don't even have to think about it. These are simple questions like, Jason, when you invest, are you looking for income? Are you looking for growth? Or are you looking for both? How important are tax benefits to you, Jason? Real important? Great. You know, when you invest, are you looking to do something special with this money, like put a kid through college or maybe buy a second home? You see, all of these questions will uncover that little nugget that will allow you to close when it's time to do so later in the process. So it's your job. And remember, great salespeople know this. God gave us 2 ears for one purpose, right? It's to listen, not to talk. So ask questions, uncover the temptation. Then you're going to get to the third step. We call that connection. In raising money, a person has to realize the decision to invest with someone or not is largely emotional. It's not an analytical decision. They're not reading every page in the offering circular. They're connecting with you, your confidence. They're building that relationship. And so you want to start taking notice as you're building this trust and you're building that relationship. Like, are they connecting with you? Has that person reached out on Facebook and asked you to be a friend? On LinkedIn, have they requested to connect? If you're posting on Instagram, are they like, giving you a thumbs up or saying, wow, great post today? Once you see that that connection is evolving and it's taking place, you know you're on the right track. And you can then get to validation, which is where you need to validate trust. You see, the reason that this flow and this cadence is so important is the biggest mistake people make when they try to raise money is they rush the process. There's urgency because they're under contract to buy a deal, or they're so desperate to close and get that money in the door that they start pitching and presenting an opportunity before trust is ever established. I mean, the person that you're talking to is going to be nice. They're going to maybe ask you to send them the information, but when it comes time to really writing a check or to funding you, it ain't going to happen because you've put the project before creating the trust. Does that make sense to everybody? You following me there? So you need to have a way to validate trust. And over 25 years of raising hundreds of millions of dollars, I've created a line in our script that I teach all of my students that allows you to do two things. Number one, it allows you to use a little bit of sales psychology. We call it the takeaway. The takeaway is a very powerful emotional tool that the top closers use today. Then we ask a simple question that either opens the door to validating trust or closes the door. And that line is very simple. It's something like this: John, I've really enjoyed getting to know you over the last couple of conversations. And like I've told you before, right now, I just don't have an investment opportunity that I can really talk to you about. And the reason is largely that we like to give our existing investors the right of first refusal on most of our new and ensuing programs. So it's very rare that we ever have an opening for a new person to come on board. But what I'd like to do is simply put your name on the list, get back in touch with you in the event we have an opening or small allocation at some time in the future. Would putting your name on the list today make sense? Is that something that you're comfortable with us doing for you today? And when they say yes, they've confirmed they trust you enough to be added to a list to be called back at a later date. You see that? But I also planted a seed of doubt. They may never hear back from me because I told them I don't have an investment to discuss. And we always like to give our existing investors the right of first refusal. So he doesn't even know if I'm going to call him back at this point. But what that does is it validates trust because he said, yes, put me on your list, please. I'd like to hear back from you. Well, what do you think happens? I'm naturally going to put him in my CRM. I'm going to put him into my funnel. 7 to 10 days later, I'm going to call him back. Hey, John, Brad Blazar here from 5 Star Capital. How you doing? Great. How's the weather out there? Wonderful. And after I spend a couple minutes warming him up, I simply say, you know, the last time I chatted with you, you were kind enough to ask me to put your name on a list. And I'm just going down my list today, John. It just so happens we have a very small allocation in our current offering. And I wanted to reach out to you and see if this is something that you might have an interest in. You have a couple minutes today? And then you pitch. You see, now it's okay to pitch. Now it's okay to present. Now it's okay to talk about the investment. And then at the end of your pitch, after you've answered questions, you're going to close. You're going to ask them to physically invest with you. And the way we do that is we say, John, how many units in our program would you like to take? 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, or no units? I always give the out. And then I just bite my tongue and I wait. Usually what will happen is he'll come back and say something like, well, tell me again, Brad, how much are 2 units in your program? What does that cost? And then I say, John, you know, simply get the paperwork that we sent you as part of the package. Let's walk through that and I'll tell you how to fill that out. I'd love to welcome you aboard as a new investment partner. Now they're attached. You see, now they've invested. Now they want to see you become successful. Now they're committed. And so you get to attachment, which means they physically have now invested. And then the next step is affiliation. Because these people are now your capital partners and investors, they want to see you become successful. So they start referring you to other investors. We call that an affiliate relationship. Hey, I golf with John, and he's a phenomenal guy. He also makes a lot of money. I talked to him about what you do, and he'd love to have a conversation. Hey, my partner, Steve, needs some tax relief. And I know that this real estate deal that I just invested in gives some benefits. So can you call my business partner? You see, now your capital raising business starts to evolve and take off, and it actually becomes easier because people start referring people to you. That's the importance of slowing down the process, everybody, and building that trust first before you pitch your deal. Now, here's the steps to actually use this and to go out and start raising money. Number one is you've got to define your target list. Like, where am I going to go to find my high net worth people? Okay. And here's what I'll tell you. Number one is you can buy a list of high net worth accredited investors. If you don't know anybody that is accredited or rich, I can point you in the direction and say, call this person, because this is what they do. They sell lists of accredited investors, and you can buy a list of 5,000 affluent households that all live within a demographic region and use that as your target list. The second thing is you've got to warm up this audience through what we call outreach. Okay, mailings, email, social media, Facebook, webinars. You got to somehow warm them up so that they're receptive to speaking with you. You're positioning yourself as a subject matter expert, as a person of interest. And then you begin the process of sending out your offering materials to those people that have expressed interest in your project, what it is you're doing. And you can see samples of these offering materials down in the bottom corner, the cover of an offering circular, okay, 1-pagers that summarize what the investment is all about. And if you don't know how to do this, it's okay. We teach you how to put these things together. We give you templates on how to put these things together. And then you close. You ask for the investment. They put money with you. And then you just repeat the process. You go on to the next investor. That's how you go from 50,000 to 200,000 to your first million, then to 5 million. And you just keep growing. Maybe you bring on a salesperson to work alongside you, and they start doing this as well. Now, you can also host what I call networking events. You can take this list, right? You can hire a company, and there are plenty of companies out there that we can introduce you to that will put together a beautiful invitation. They'll mail it out. They'll handle all the RSVPs. And imagine walking into a room at a place like a country club or a nice hotel or a restaurant where you're hosting what we call a networking event, okay? I don't like to do big dinners, and I'll tell you why. You get a lot of plate lickers. What I like to build these at and basically promote them at is a networking opportunity or a networking event. We might serve some nice hors d'oeuvres, maybe some beer and wine, but we don't do the big expensive dinners. And then what I do is I usually will clang a glass or call everybody's attention to the front so I can introduce myself and my associates. And then we have about a 20-minute keynote, like a presentation where we go through what we do, who we are, and we have materials set up on the side of the room for those people that are interested. The other types of things you can do are what I call lifestyle events. These are really designed to attract a higher net worth prospect. You can do something like a golf outing. You can do an exotic car event. There are plenty of places around the country where you can go and rent, get behind the wheel of exotic cars. I guarantee rich people love to do that kind of stuff. Hot air ballooning, yacht excursions. Start thinking outside the box. Get people together that have money, and then follow up and close. The other thing is social media. Now, under the Jobs Act of 2012, the government loosened the restrictions on attracting investor capital. It's now actually easier than ever to attract and raise investor capital. You can use webinars. You can post on social media. Okay, you can literally drop leaflets from airplanes, get billboards, put ads in newspapers. As long as the investors that you're cultivating and having conversations with are accredited, you can do all of these things. You can structure your offering using certain exemptions like Reg A or what we call the Reg D 506C. And so you begin the process of using social media as a tool to solicit and drive investor interest. And then when people express interest, you simply follow up. You make sure those prospects are accredited. You close them, and you just repeat the process over and over and over again. Now, you need to understand the framework behind this. And what we've put together is what I call a script or a blueprint. And it largely is designed around 4 calls or 4 meetings or 4 Zooms. The reason is you saw earlier how the trust sequence is designed over basically a cadence or a sequence of 6 things. You can't just rush in and say, hey, how'd you like to invest in this great deal? That ain't going to work. You've got to preface, I don't have anything to sell you today, man. I just want to get to know you, want to know what you like to invest in. You got to build that trust. You got to build that relationship first. You got to use a little psychology in the process because it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And the beautiful thing about this script or this blueprint is it can be used regardless of how the investor lead is sourced, whether it's a referral, whether it's a cold call, whether you met them in a networking event. Maybe they were sitting next to you in first class on the airplane. That's why I always fly first class or fly in my private jet. It's because I know the people sitting next to me are going to be very successful in their prospective investors. So let's talk about this script. The first call, the first meeting, the first Zoom is basically to build rapport. It's also designed to disarm, to build trust. Now, a lot of times when you're calling somebody, you're naturally going to get the response, I'm not interested. Like, for example, when I buy a list of high net worth accredited investors and I just start cold calling randomly, just go down the list, and I say, hey, this is Brad Blazar, 5 Star Capital. We're a real estate private equity fund based out of Houston. And I was just calling today to see if you have an interest in passive real estate investments that generate substantial tax benefits. 9 out of 10 times I get, I'm not interested. Now, here's the secret. They are interested, they just don't know it yet. But how many times have all of us been at a store and the clerk comes up to us and they say, hi, good afternoon, can I help you today? What do we say? No, just looking, right? And they leave us for a couple minutes and we look around and then eventually they come back. Folks, we're in the store for a reason. We're not just looking, we're there to buy something. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in the damn store. The people don't know yet that they're interested. And so as a good capital raiser or as a good salesperson, if you expect this answer in advance, when you get it, if you're prepared to respond accordingly, you can take a, I'm not interested to a conversation that literally will last 20 to 30 minutes. Literally. And here's how you do it. When you get done with your introductory pitch and they say, I'm not interested, you literally, like a door-to-door salesman sticking their foot in the door, you blurt out as quickly as you can. I understand. Let me just ask you one question before I let you go. The fact that you're not interested, is it because you've invested in something like this before and perhaps it didn't work out the way you thought it would? And they're going to give you an answer. And then boom, you come right back with another question. I mean, like fast, boom. And they're going to answer that. And then what you just simply say is, look, I'm not calling today to sell you something. As a matter of fact, don't have anything that I can really talk to you about. I just want to know, do you have an interest in reducing your taxes? I mean, that's a legitimate question. Everybody wants to lower their taxes. And then you can start getting into, well, let me tell you a little bit about what we do. You see, and you've disarmed the person, and basically you've now transcended the I'm not interested to somebody that's now opening up. It's like peeling back the layers of the onion or the petals of a flower. Now, does this work all the time? No, but you can probably get 6 to 7 of those I'm not interested to start staying on the phone and at least opening up with you. Now, at the end of the first call, assuming you've had some dialogue, all you want to try to accomplish really is just to send some introductory material out to that prospect. And you just say, Steve, I really have enjoyed getting to know you in the last 20, 30 minutes that we've been chatting. What I'd love to do is just send you some introductory materials to introduce who we are, what we do, and largely just determine if this is something that you might have an interest in at some point in the future. Would that be great? Wonderful. Let me just verify your mailing address or your email address. Always verify, because you want to make sure that the information you have for that prospective person is accurate. You're done. First call, first meeting, first Zoom, whatever. Then you put them into your funnel, your CRM, your tickler, whatever it is that's going to keep track of all of these people. And 7 to 10 days later, you're going to call that prospect back. You're checking in. Did you get what I sent you? You're going to ask more tempting questions to uncover what it is that's going to allow them to invest. You're going to add more value by educating them on what you do, the space you're in. And again, you're going to say, man, I just don't have anything I can sell you or talk to you about from an investment perspective today. I wish I did, but we always like to give our existing investors the right of first refusal. Can I put you on my list? You see, ask for permission. This is done at the end of the second meeting or the second Zoom, because now you're positioning yourself for the third call, which is where you offer the opportunity. This is where you pitch. This is where you're going to send them your offering materials, because they've given you permission to call them back. And then after you send out your offering package, about a week to 10 days later, you're going to close. You're going to call them back. You're going to go through the material. You're going to explain the deal, answer any questions, and you're going to ask them to invest. If you do this and you study this process, you can have tremendous success, massive success raising money. And then you just repeat. Now that you understand that this process of raising money is built around 4 calls or 4 meetings or 4 Zooms, whatever you want to call it, do you see how this ties into the trust sequence? Do you see why you got to slow down the process? Do you see why you got to step back a little bit? Because you got to build the trust. And by doing it in 4 calls or 4 meetings or 4 Zooms, you're tying these 2 things together. Now, it took me years to understand why this process worked. But when I read the trust economy and I learned about the trust sequence, a little light bulb went off. Like, this was my aha moment. And I said, man, now I know why this works. Now I know why Jack was able to raise $25 million for me. It's because this process works. It's a proven process that has allowed me and many other people to go out and successfully raise lots and lots of money. Now, we've been here for almost an hour, about 45 minutes. And hopefully, if you've been listening and taking notes, I hope you'd agree that it's been time well spent, because I've uncovered a couple of things that I've shared with you over the last 45 minutes as it relates to attracting, raising, and closing high net worth capital. But I'm just going to be blatantly honest. I can't cover everything that you need to know about raising money in an hour, I really couldn't teach you even if we had an entire day. So I will make a special offer to you for those of you that are here so that you can get everything you need to know in raising capital. I want to give you the tools. And here's the secret. If you act fast, I'm going to give you a very, very special deal. Here's what you're going to get. You're going to get a complete 12-course program that's focused on teaching you how to raise money from high net worth investors using other people's money to build wealth, transform your life, and literally leave a legacy. Now, what's included in this is a live training call every single week. We have a live weekly accountability call with students all around the world. Like I said, we're teaching in multiple countries. And this is where I'm holding your hand. This is where other students are sharing some of their successes. Many times we bring on keynote speakers that are also raising capital so that you can learn from other people. Think of it as your mastermind community. This is every week on Thursday afternoons. Now, it's recorded. So if you're not able to make it for whatever reason, you're going to basically be able to see it on a replay. So you're never going to miss anything. Then we give you the 4-step blueprint. This is the script, almost word for word, so that you literally have a guide, a set of tracks to get on as you're building that call cadence with prospective investors. We want to give you the blueprint. It's an in-depth script to close sales. Then we're going to give you investor package samples, right, to model your kid after. We're going to give you samples of PowerPoints, pitch decks. We're going to give you a template to create your own offering memorandum where you can literally save tens of thousands of dollars because the attorneys that do this charge you much, much more. So I want to give you samples that you can model yours after. I'm also going to teach you about crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is a wonderful way to raise money from investors because they've already got them. We're going to show you how to put your opportunity to put your offering on a crowdfunding platform and leverage those crowdfunding platforms as well. Then we're going to teach you not one, not two, but multiple ways how to attract, how to get in front of high net worth investors. Then you're going to learn about the different types of securities exemptions. What's the difference between a Reg A and a Reg CF? What's the difference between a Reg D to structure your deal properly? And then lastly, for some of you that might already be raising money that just want to get to the next level, we're going to teach you how to get into family offices, how to get the big checks, how to raise more money, because I've done that. I've been there, done it. I want to teach you how to do this too. And then lastly, how to build your business, like how to set it up properly, things that you're going to need to have massive success if you go out and you actually do this. So step back for a second now that you've listened to all this. Okay, the property that's up in the top left, that beautiful property, that's a property actually that we went to see. We have an offer on that. We're trying to work with the seller to work out the details. Imagine being able to finance and actually acquire a property like that with other people's money. Imagine getting access to the millions you need to buy multifamily, maybe to launch your own business, acquire a business, or if you're in business now, just to scale it and grow it. Okay, so here's what you're going to get. Again, live weekly training call with me, my team. That's priceless. I mean, that is literally priceless. Number two, you're going to get the 4-step blueprint. Okay, this is the script. Now, if I were to sell this separately, like strip it off and sell it outside of a bundled package, I charge you close to $1,500 for that. The investor kit, the templates, the PowerPoints, all that, $3,500 value. Crowdfunding lesson, the module on that, $1,297. How to access high net worth investors. What I'm saying here is if we unbundled all of this and sold it to you one at a time, you're getting roughly an $8,876 value in terms of the knowledge, the scripts, the videos, all of that stuff. Now, who does this work for? It's work for Jack. Dude raised $25 million. It's work for real estate entrepreneurs that want to get into multifamily, want to rehab, want to learn how to do this because we also educate a little bit on real estate. It's work for the entrepreneur that wants to capitalize on a new idea or start a business. But I'm going to give you a couple bonuses. Number one, I'm going to give you the guide that you see on the screen, Securing an Investment. This is a $2,000 workbook that literally goes into everything you need to know to securing your first investment. Okay. Then I'm going to teach you how to get into the big leagues, how to put together a fund, how to put together an offering, how to call on family offices. I'm going to give you a database of over 300 family offices that you can call on with the names, the phone numbers, the emails to the decision makers in all these big family offices. Now, you add all that up, you're getting roughly a $13,000 program or package. But because you're here on the High Performance Success Summit, and I worked out a special deal with Jason, we're going to give you a great deal. What's one investor worth? Just one person that invests $100,000. What are two investors worth? Imagine getting two investors every month that write you a check for $50,000 or $100,000. You can get started today for as little as $1,000. Okay, we're going to give you this entire program today for just $1,027, and you get immediate access to my toolkit, which is where all the lessons are hosted, where all the scripts are, all the videos, all the modules. There's the website, www.bradblazar.com, little slash, and then the word enroll. When you enroll, we're going to set you up on a little 3-month subscription. You pay $1,027 today, and then there's just 2 more payments every 30 days. After that, there's no monthly dues, there's no annual fees, and you get lifetime access to the Facebook community that you're going to be a part of, where you get to network with students all over the globe in multiple countries. You're going to get access to the toolkit so that you can start learning how to do all of these things. You're going to get access, of course, to me and all the people that I'm connected with as it relates to the big power players, all the family offices, but it gets even better. The first 5 people that take action today are also going to get a free ticket to Capital Con. This is my big event. We host this every year, okay? You're going to get free VIP premier access to my event. We just launched the ticket platform. This is in April of 2022, and I want to tell you about this. This year, in April, we had our event. Shark Tank's Kevin Harrington was one of our speakers. Imagine learning from Kevin Harrington, of all people, how to pitch your deal, like how to pitch your opportunity. This guy's on Shark Tank. He's heard more pitches than anybody other than the other sharks. He was there. Sharon Lechter, the co-author of one of the most highly coveted books ever written on building wealth, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. She was the co-author with Robert Kiyosaki. She was there. Imagine learning from her, being able to sit down and have lunch with Sharon Lechter. We had Coach Michael Burt, America's super coach, one of the top coaches in the business today. We had people like Dr. Kevin Elko, who is the personal coach to Nick Saban. He coaches NFL and college football teams to Super Bowl championships, 31 championship rings. I just announced Capital Con #2. In the room, A&E reality TV star Dave Seymour from the hit show Flipping Boston, okay? A reality TV star. He's now doing multifamily in a big way. Sir John Shin with Accienta Financial, multi-millionaire, right under Ed Milet, one of the top players at Transamerica. Coach Burt. We have a Guinness World Record holder, Darren Miller, who is the first person and the youngest person ever to complete the Ocean 7. Those are the 7 longest channel swims around the world. And today he's an ultra marathoner doing 50 and 100-mile runs. I'm going to talk to you about the self-talk, what it takes to be successful. We've just added a couple new speakers. Rock Thomas, for those of you that know who he is. He's a Tony Robbins disciple and a certified Tony Robbins trainer. Marcus Jacober. If you take action today and you sign up, I'm going to give you a free ticket. This is a $1,500 seat right in the front row. I'm giving that away to you today for free, only for the first 5 people. Now, you have 2 choices. Do nothing, right? Do nothing, and your life ain't going to change, okay? By the way, by taking action today, it's back with 100% money back guarantee. The second option is you could pony up a small investment in yourself today, just $1,000, compared to all the value you're going to get. I told you, you're just going to get a free ticket to the event. That's $1,500 right there. So immediately you're getting your investment back. And here's the beautiful thing, folks. If it works, great. You're off to raising huge amounts of money. If you get into this program, in the first 30 days, you decide it's not for you, Just ask for your money back and you'll get it because it's back with the money back guarantee. It's right on the website. Sign up today. For any reason you don't like it, I don't care if it's 29 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes. Just let me know and we'll give you 100% refund. No questions asked. 24-hour special. So there's the website again, folks. www.bradblazar.com. Enroll. Get the coaching, get the knowledge, get access to me, get access to my network, get in the front row at Capital Con. Why? Because it can change your life. And more importantly, learning the secrets of how to attract, how to raise, and how to close high net worth investor capital is the key to unlocking the door to generational wealth. Jason, I want to thank you today, buddy, for having me here. It's been great. Do I have a couple more minutes or am I done?
Yes, you're good, Brad. You have more time.
Wonderful.
You're good.
Let me just add one thing, folks, that's real important as I kind of close up today. I want to talk a little bit about the importance of what I call purpose in your life. Purpose is so important because most people wake up every day. They go to work, they have a job, they're on what I call that treadmill of life, doing the same thing over and over. Why? Because you need a paycheck, you need to pay your bills, you need to live. But if I were to ask you why you do what you do, like what would your answer be? Many of you would say it's because I need to pay my bills. Okay, that's not purpose. Okay, I know what my purpose is. And here's the important thing. Purpose will help you get back up when you get knocked down. Purpose will allow you to continue to grind and hustle and deal with the frustrations in life. And so I want to share with you a little story in closing here that hopefully allows you to sit back today as you're watching or as you leave later this afternoon and go, wow, I need to find my purpose. I've got a good friend up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. His name is Matt. And Matt runs 3 very successful businesses that do about $100 million a year in revenue. And he was on stage about 1.5 years ago, and he was sharing this very powerful story. He said about 2 years ago, it was right before the holidays, and my sister-in-law came over to our home with her husband and their 3 kids. And so the kids went out and they were playing in the pool because it's heated. The ladies went into the kitchen and they started preparing for the holiday meal, making the turkey, making the pumpkin pies. And the guys, of course, we went upstairs into the theater where we were watching our teams, the Dallas Cowboys, beat up on one of our competitors. And it was right in the middle of the 3rd quarter, Matt said, that my brother-in-law started daydreaming. He just started slowly leading off into the couch. His head would go back. You'd see him snore for a minute or 2, and then he'd kind of come back up and he'd watch a few more minutes. And then, of course, he, just because he was tired, leaned back into the couch, his head leaned back, and then he would come back and watch the game. We've all done that before, I'm sure. We're all guilty of that. But then finally, when his head went back, he just went to sleep. And I was over here, Matt said, watching the game, cheering him on. And my brother-in-law was just snoozing away. And I just let him sleep, snoring away. But then all of a sudden, when we got into the 4th quarter, he jumped out of the couch like he had seen a ghost, grabbed my arm, and I jumped, and I was startled. And I looked and I said, "Are you okay?" And there was a little bit of sweat coming off his brow. And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I think so." He said, "I think I just might have had a bad dream or something, Matt, just startled." And so Matt said, "Well, it's okay. You're fine. We're watching the game." And his brother-in-law looked at him, he said, with a stare that Matt said, "I'll never forget." He looked at me and he said, "Matt, can I share something with you?" And Matt said, "Sure. I mean, you're family, you're my brother-in-law." And he said, "Matt, I've got cancer and it's pretty bad." And Matt's like, "Well, like how bad? Like prostate cancer?" "No, it's worse, Matt. It's lung cancer. And the doctors have given me about 6 months." And Matt just like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm really saddened to hear that. Like, what does Susie say?" Now, Susie was his wife. That was Matt's sister-in-law. And Matt's brother-in-law looked at him and said, "She doesn't even know." And Matt just sat there like, this is your wife. This is the partner in life. Your wife doesn't know that you've got terminal cancer. He said, no, Matt, I can't bear myself to tell her. And the reason is we don't have any insurance. And Matt just said, wow. He said, I think it's time to go downstairs and have a little family meeting. And so he literally forced his brother-in-law to come downstairs and share this news with his wife. And you can imagine, for the first time, he's sharing this news with his partner, his wife, hugging, kissing, crying, a lot of emotion in the room. And the sad thing, folks, is it wasn't 6 months, it was only 3. And there was a funeral, and they buried him. They said their goodbyes. Now, a couple days later, when Matt's wife, Cookie, came downstairs, she was very emotional. And Matt immediately took notice, like, why are you crying, man? Like, what are you so emotional for? And she said, Matt, man, I've just been thinking about my sister. You know, like, you heard what he said 3 months ago, Matt. They don't have any insurance. Like, what's her future going to look like? Like, is she going to have to sell the house? You know, they've got 3 kids. They're not privileged people like you and me, Matt. They don't have insurance. She's going to have to either go on welfare, get another job. I mean, like, you know, I just don't know. And Matt just smiled and said, sometimes God has a way of working miracles. And he just kind of walked out of the room. 3 days later, Matt was on the phone to the sister-in-law, and he was inviting her over to enjoy the weekend. He said, come on over. We'd love to have the kids over. We'd love to have you over for dinner. I know it's been a real tough time. So they came over. They had a wonderful evening, watched a movie on Netflix. And at the end of the evening, as they were saying goodbyes and they were hugging, Matt opened his jacket. He reached in and he handed her an envelope. He said, this is for you. And she opened the envelope and she said, I can't take this. He said, you can and you will. Inside that envelope, folks, there was a check for a couple $1 million, had a couple of zeros attached. It was enough money to take care of a family of 4 for the rest of their life. I want to ask you, how many of you that are listening to this story want to be the rich Uncle Matt? Or you want to be the rich aunt, or the rich brother, or the rich sister, to be the shoulder that other people can lean on in their time of need? See, that's purpose at the highest level. When you can step in and solve problems for other people at that magnitude, that's purpose. I want to be that same person for my siblings, for my mom, for my aunts and uncles, for anybody in my family or that I know in my sphere of influence that I know needs help, to be able to say, hey, here's a check. Don't ever worry about paying it back. This is from me to you because I know it's going to help. And that's why also in everything I do, my coaching, my book sales, I donate a percentage to MD Anderson to help fight cancer, because I lost my dad to that, and it's a big illness and I want to help. You see, that's what drives me, folks. When people ask, Brad, why do you do like what you do? You don't need to be doing this. I mean, you've got 7-figure net worth. I always tell them it's because I have a purpose in life, and my purpose in life is to help pull you up by your bootstraps, show you can do bigger things, and help transform your future. So everybody, find your purpose. It's in you. You just need to figure out what it is, and I'll be talking more about that in day 2 on tomorrow's High Performance Success Summit. Jason, that's all I have, big guy.
Well, thank you